Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Game Design Podcast, the podcast where we talk about game design, which should not surprise anybody. Once again, my name is Brad Carney of Final Boss Entertainment, and this week we're talking all things Street Fighter V. Well, not all things SF5. Don't really need to discuss esports drama on a podcast about game design, but we'll be talking about the design side of the latest, possibly greatest fighting game by Capcom. Is the game balanced? Does it have proper comeback mechanics? Does it appeal to multiple playstyles? All things we'll get into. A quick bit of history on this game. It released on February 15th of this year, which is 2016 for those of you listening from the future, to largely mixed reviews. While many do seem pleased with the core gameplay, the game shipped lacking many crucial features. Spectator mode, halfway decent AI, even the cinematic story mode won't be completed until June. An update for the game is expected this month to address some of that, but even so, the game will have a long way to go before it's complete. As I mentioned earlier though, people do seem to be quite pleased overall with the gameplay. You know, the important part. Out of the gate, the game does seem to be quite balanced. In fact, most people seem to think that the fighter they're playing as is one of the best in the game, which is an encouraging sign. The game also introduces some brand new mechanics, such as the V-trigger, which we'll get plenty more into. So, coming up, we'll discuss more of Street Fighter V with longtime fighting game player and friend of mine, Stone Nguyen, aka Ken Masters X. We'll discuss some of the game's design choices, characters, mechanics, balance, even some of the problems the game has. Then, I'll be back at the end to wrap things up. So why don't you tell the people out there about this little event you're going to next weekend, Final Round?
So for the people not initiated in fighting games, Final Round is one of the biggest old tournaments for fighting games in the US. It even predates EVO by a few years, I believe.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's like pre-2000s, I think.
Yeah, and just for the subject at hand, the big thing is that right now the numbers for Street Fighter V is around 800 plus.
Wow,
that's really huge. It's not even EVO yet, and it's like we're getting close to 1,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is kind of like one of the first big major tournaments for Street Fighter V, isn't it?
Yeah, like super huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much kicks off the tournament season. Capcom Pro Tour's first big tournament, I think. Well, second, not counting the one in Sweden, I think, where there was a little upset with the character that won, which is Laura, which is considered not amazing, but she won. So I don't follow those tournaments too much. I just know things here and there.
But yeah, I mean, this is a tournament, like, it's starting to develop some, like, kind of, like, big-time officialness with Capcom. Officialness, sure, that's the word. But, I mean, this is, like, where, isn't this the tournament where, like, DiCaprio was showed off initially, the new Street Fighter 4 character?
Yeah, I even have the t-shirt when she was, announced. It was amazing, because, like, everyone was waiting for this character that the owner was trolling, like, hinting at for, like, a few months, and then the disappointment in everyone's eyes when they saw it was a Cammy clone.
Right.
It was so.
Yeah, they spent all this time writing a check that they could not cash.
Well, I mean, it was like that until they showed off gameplay, and then people were amazed. So it was like it was the bait and switch. It was like, okay, we know we're gonna set them up for disappointment, and then we'll actually show how the character shows off. I mean, how the character works, and they're like, whoa, I kind of want to play that character. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I almost feel like had it just not been like had the character just looked different visually, like had it not like basically looked like a Cammy clone, like had this been like this like visually distinct new looking character, like along with these new kinds of like the way the character works, I feel like it would have gone over much better with the crowd. Yeah,
I mean, it would have been super positive, but I think the effect was planned. I actually asked some of the Capcom reps. They're like, yeah, we kind of knew what was going to happen. It was just a lot more interesting if you were there.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, and I think some people were expecting like another reveal maybe at Final Round, because the update for March hasn't been released yet. and there hasn't been a trailer for the new character this month, which is Alex.
Right.
A lot of people looking forward to him, and there hasn't been a release date yet because I think they're still pending the Sony approval process for the patch, which could take like a week to a month.
But I mean, people might be expecting a new character. Hasn't all that been data mined already? Like, don't people already know like everything that's coming anyway?
Yeah, everyone knows the character's coming out, but the thing is, they haven't seen them how they redesign the characters yet, and there's a lot of design philosophy in how they chose the characters, and then I think with the DLC characters, they pick characters that were like in demand or would be interesting to the character roster for this year's Street Fighter V roster.
So, I mean, that's actually something I do want to get into. One of the big staples of these Street Fighter games is like you have this like wide variety of characters that appeal to a lot of different play styles. How's Street Fighter V been doing in terms of that? And like, do you think like these new characters like are appealing to potential styles that are maybe a little underrepresented with the current roster?
I mean, with 16 characters and the amount of and the variety in the styles that the characters are in the game, I think they did a pretty good job. Like they're all really different. You can't even say Ryu and Ken are clones of each other because they play so different. Like you can like even before you used to be able to look at an old game and like, oh, Ken just has a flame uppercut, that's it, But
Right.
In this game, Ken's like full-fledged, like super different. Some of his normals look different.
He actually looks different this time too. Instead of a remodeled head and hair. So.
Yeah. So, there's a lot more flash to his attacks. And then you can see where they emphasize his in-your-face gameplay versus Ryu, who's still kind of like tried and true.
Kind of like a zoning character.
Yeah, and I mean he's still really cool to from a basic standpoint. He's a really interesting character. And then Vega got changed to like a motion character, and that's not even counting the stuff they changed on top of that. And then the new characters are all like really cool, like really interesting, I guess.
So I've heard a lot like made about the fact that Vega isn't a charge character anymore. Like how does that change his style? Like what does that mean for like someone trying to play the character?
Okay, so for the uninitiated, for like just fighting games in general, or just Street Fighter design, usually charge characters, they have really strong special moves, but to offset that, they're made to charge them so that you can't just throw them out all the time. Either their recovery is good or they beat out a lot of options if you can do it. And to compensate for this, usually they have really strong normals to help them out, either store their charge and let them advance forward, or just be really strong buttons to beat out like as footsie buttons. And that's usually their edge against regular motion based characters. I think with this, I believe the design philosophy was that they wanted characters to be easier access, and most people prefer, like, most people can do motions, but charge characters, like, they can't wrap their brains around it. Although it did upset the people that were like trying to, like, I love charge characters, and then now they had to learn motions.
Right. So are there any charge characters in this?
Yeah, there's one really dedicated charge character, which is the last revealed new character, Fang.
Oh, okay.
All his attacks, other than one, I believe, is a charge move, and they're really awkward, which fits his style. And I think maybe there's one or two characters that have like one charge move. Like I think Chun-Li's spinning bird kick is still charged, and then Nekali has a charge slash, which would be a little bit strong if it was kept motion. Like they were experimenting with that in the betas. If people were, if you were following the betas a little bit, it was motion in the beginning, and then they changed it to charge. I
see. Interesting.
Because they thought it was like, it would be too strong an option. They made it motion. Just do a reaction, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so there is a few charge, but I think they want to make it, among other things, like make it so that people can just pick up the characters and play. Like they can they can do stuff and see that they're doing stuff. And that was
Right.
another thing that they were trying to do with 4, like with focus attack and all that stuff. Like, oh, parry, you don't know if you're doing it right or not. With focus, you see something's happening. And then 5, it's like V trigger. You can see that you're doing something cool and you have access to all these things instead of like, oh, I don't know if this actually does something. Like most people, like they'll just pick up a game and they'll play this character. Oh, this character's cool, like Crimson Viper, and then like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. And it does seem like they are trying to emphasize it just being able to like kind of pick up and play this game. Like they're kind of trying to lower the execution barrier. Like one of the things in Street Fighter 4 is like there were a lot of basically, for those that don't know, like a link is like where you do like one move, the move finishes, and then you throw out another move and they combo. So like they don't have time to like recover and block between the two moves. But basically, it's one move finishes completely, and then you do the next one, and they combo. And like the some of those were like one frame links, so like you had to really time like the next move like absolutely perfectly. But in this, I think the shortest link is 4 frames, right?
They added a 3-frame buffer for everything. So if there's like a window that you're trying to do that has like maybe a 1-frame gap, the game gives you a little bit of leeway for it to connect.
I see.
Yeah. So I mean, so instead of, there's no real 1-frame links, even though maybe there's a situation where it can happen. But generally everything, if you're trying to do basic like combo links, then there'll be 3-frame links, so a lot easier than like before.
And how's that worked out for the game so far? Like, are new players having an easier time with this than they did with Street Fighter 4? Is there still a big execution gap between the top players and the, I don't know, maybe the intermediate players?
Definitely not. Like,
okay,
you can, if you have any basics in fighting games, you should be able to pick up your character really fast, like within well, I mean, generally like doing the basic bread and butter combos and like, basic combos for a character, you shouldn't take too long to learn, as long as you have the information in front of you. The biggest thing is like, and I mean a lot of the players that are old schoolish, they like the game right now because it just emphasizes more on decision making, not on the combos, like and especially in the older games, like you have to practice combos so much just so you can be able to do it, and you mess up once and then, oh well, I guess I died.
Yep.
But I mean, in this game, like single decisions, beating out, learning situations where you beat out other things, that's a lot more important in this game.
No, I do think that's very interesting. I mean, one of the things that I really didn't like about some of the previous Street Fighter games is like it almost emphasized like being robotic more than like actually being a smart player and doing the right things. It was like if you didn't have these 1-frame links down, and it just made like these tiny execution mistakes, like it just cost you way more than, I don't know, maybe a bad decision or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a little bit of that type of thing. Just fighting games are it's always going to be something like that.
Sure.
But especially in this game, a lot of the options are like they're right there, they're in your face. Like, and I mean, most people that I talk to, or I always see this every day. Literally, whenever they say that they lost, they felt like it was their fault and not the game, which I think is a really good step.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's showing that like the game is fair, and you're being penalized and rewarded based on your actions, and which I think is a good thing, as opposed to the game being random, and which certain Capcom games have been before, which is not such a good thing.
Yeah. Now one of the things that some people have been talking about, that they say might be a problem, like as far as a spectator point of view, is that the game is not super visually exciting compared to like 4.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Street Fighter. People will still watch it. I think it was like a step forward, step back.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game, they're saying they're catering more to the casuals, but it's fun for people playing it. But I feel like they didn't focus as much on the flashiness part to draw like people in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the early criticisms I saw of the game, like when they first showed footage of it, someone was commenting how it's like every Street Fighter like really had like its own kind of unique art style and just something really interesting visually going on. Whereas this, I don't know, not so much.
I do like the fact that the critical arts, which is what they call supers in this game, are really short. Like just get you back into action. I mean, and they do look cool for the little bit of time that they're shown, which is a big improvement in my opinion. Because I mean, it even got into the gameplay how long they were. Because you'll have people doing ultras just so that it can eat the clock, and then the timer will run out before they would kill the opponent.
Good old timer scams.
Yeah, you didn't have to. I think they were learning from it in because right after that, after Street Fighter 4, with Marvel, that game doesn't have that problem because I think the timer just freezes, and I mean supers are fast in that game, and then carrying over to 5, although they they kind of regressed a little bit when with Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and when supers took like a million years to show off. But that's another game, and we're talking about 5 right now.
But no, I mean, just quickly, I mean, that was a big criticism of that game. That's something I remember. Legendary fighting game player Justin Wong saying, he was saying how like in Street Fighter 4, they had these flashy ultras and supers, and when people started to do them, it's like giant camera movement and just all this stuff, and it would really like get the crowd hype. But like Cross Tekken, like really didn't have anything like that.
Yeah, it really didn't. It's just I don't really know what they were doing with that game. To be honest with you. I see a few things they were doing I think were interesting.
Thought visually it looked pretty good, but other than that.
Yeah. There was a lot of things wrong with it, and like I think they were. I mean, obviously, I think they were rushing it out the door, and then the whole DLC scandal.
Yeah.
Just killed that game before it could get up and running.
Yeah.
It's a shame in my opinion, because the game got patched a little bit farther up, and I think it addressed most of the problems with that game, but it was too late. The PR was like PR pretty much destroyed any chance for that game to come out.
Yeah, and wonder if history might be repeating itself a little bit here with Street Fighter 5.
I don't think it's that bad, but I mean, yeah, it's a little bit.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a shame that it does seem like they did a lot of really good things with the game design, but then they kind of rushed things out. It didn't fully complete the features. No cinematic till June. I mean, bit of a shame. Bit of a shame.
It is, but I mean, obviously it's a push for Capcom Pro Tour and like for the competitive players to get a copy of the game. It just the sales for the game took a hit because of it.
Right.
All these things that the casuals probably would have wanted to see right away. It's delayed. Like the patch in March is supposed to be adding like lobbies and some other stuff and a few bug fixes, patch balance stuff, very minor stuff, and a big story thing in June. Yeah, like the cinematic story stuff in June, which is like super huge. For casuals, I could care less. I'll play it once and then I'll forget it.
Yeah.
But I mean that's the stuff that sells to the casual audience. Like, yeah, I can't wait to play story mode. Like, we're just like.
Whereas like to the hardcore audience, like they don't even care about graphics. Like this could be like stick figures, and people would be like, "Oh, V-Trigger's a really good mechanic." It's like that's.
Yeah, it's. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's unfortunate that this is how things are going, but maybe people will take a second look at the game once more content's out and more things are fixed up.
And I think after Evo too, because I mean that's going to be a big deal this year.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, everyone's paying attention, even though they're complaining about it. They're still they're still looking at it, and I guess whenever they hear good things about it, they'll come back, or they'll play it again. Actually, thinking about it, there was a problem with the PC version accepting certain controllers too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think, and they just fixed part of the problem recently, I think, which was certain controllers wouldn't be accepted from the whenever you plug it in, like because it takes a certain input.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember.
I think I might have actually experienced this. Like, I went to a friend's house, like, when the game came out, like, a bunch of us were over, and, like, we had two controllers plugged in, like, this is, like, on the PC version of it, and, like, it just wouldn't read the second controller. We were just like, what is going on? Like, why can't we? It was very frustrating. So, yeah, I didn't know that was, like, an actual bug with the game. Thought it was just maybe the system or the controller, maybe.
I don't know if it was a bug. It's more like they didn't program everything in that they were supposed to, and it didn't accept everything that they could. Because like the big thing was that you had PS4 sticks perfectly working fine on PS4, but you couldn't use it for the PC version, which is hilarious because it's funded by Sony.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe some of the problems are being fixed right now. It's not covering every option, but there's options out there to be able to play with your controller on PC. You just gotta look for it, it shouldn't be that way for a game that's a major release.
Well, it's good to hear that they're fixing it. I mean, maybe not the most ideal situation. Maybe it would have been better if this was fixed out of the gate, but it is good that they are at least fixing it. I mean, a lot of companies in the past have just kind of like thrown up their hands and been like, screw it. The PC's a lost cause. We're not going to do anything with that anymore. I think Warner Brothers kind of did that with Mortal Kombat X.
Oh yeah, that's
recently
incredibly unfortunate. Part of it is not in their it wasn't their fault, but the fact that they're not even gonna try to redeem themselves is a big deal.
Right.
Yeah, they're just like, screw it. Just we're just gonna worry about consoles. Sorry, PC guys.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone who spent $60 on this game. We're just not even gonna bother. But let's talk about one of these other mechanics that you kind of hinted at a little bit. The fact that you can no longer chip out to kill someone in this game. For those who aren't totally familiar with fighting games, like usually when you do like a special move, like a fireball or something, if you block it, you take just a fraction of the damage you would have taken normally. And normally you'd be able to fully finish off someone, just with chip damage. But in this game, they actually changed it so that you can't do that. I guess you can only chip out with a critical. Right?
Yeah, with supers.
Super, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few things that changed with the life bars in this game. I mean, well, there's obvious chip damage from special moves, which is a staple in Street Fighter. But they also made it so that if you block a medium or a hard attack, like a hard button, you won't lose life, but you'll get white life. And if they hit you with a clean hit if you don't recover that white life back, you'll lose life. So they're trying to encourage a little bit of urgency without actually forcing you to.
Interesting.
There's that.
I like it.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there's the chip damage thing, which I think is a decision from there's a lot of people. They're not fans of the unescapable death situations, Mm-hmm. At least with super chip death, you can only die when the guy has the resources to finish you off. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you're still in the running, you have no life. If your defense is good, you can survive. You can make a comeback. You just gotta be pretty good. And I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for. And not many fighting games do this nowadays. Usually it's more of a decision for games where there's more hectic action, quote unquote anime fighters, where there's air dashing and full screen specials and stuff.
Right.
It's more the indie style fighting games. They go for that. But yeah, with Street Fighter adopting this, I'm wondering if more fighting games are going to try to go towards this route too.
It does sound very interesting. Like I can just imagine like the ends of matches just being like absolutely tense. I mean, if you're playing like a heavy zoning like chip out character, like I don't know, like maybe Ryu or some of those which we might discuss in a little bit, but just like having someone like down to like no life and then needing to land a clean hit, like that could be absolutely nerve wracking.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, we can see it. We can see it whenever we're watching like a high level match.
This alone is going to make Justin Wong unbeatable in this game.
I wish I could say that, but I mean, we're all struggling. We're trying to learn the game. It's newish. It's a new venture.
Yeah.
Even though we have I mean, nowadays we have all this info in our hands, like frame data, and just the information on the game. Like someone just developed a collision box detector for PC. I mean, collision box viewer on PC, so you can look at that data too.
Oh, interesting. But yeah, we're all struggling to beat rappers right now. So
I don't know about that. I'm pretty sure he took the fall for it.
Yeah. That's what people seem to think. Poor Daigo.
The only thing that matters is that it produced exposure.
Yeah.
I think that was definitely the goal, and I mean it worked up until the release.
Yeah.
I did not watch it. I couldn't watch that at all.
I didn't see it either. It had other stuff going on.
It made me hurt inside. Like I knew what was happening, and I just like. Anyway,
I know it was like I heard like Daigo lost, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh, what? Like he lost that. Oh, wow.
I'm still baffled by the people that are like, he lost legit. Oh yeah, so yeah, the other system stuff they added on top of I mentioned V trigger, and there's also V skill. So
yeah, I feel like we really need to straighten this all out because it's like V gauge and V reversal and V trigger, and just explain to those who don't know, including me, like what all is this V nonsense is all about.
Okay, so there's the super bar, the traditional super bar. There's 3 sections, and you can either use it for EX moves, which is powered up specials, special moves that might have different properties or something, and then if you save it for 3 bars, that's a super, the basic stuff. Now there's a second bar, and this bar size varies between each character, and it builds up while you're doing either while you're getting hit, or you do your character's V skill, which is when you press both medium attacks. The character will have like a specific action that's unique to them, and it'll let them do something that might help them help their general game plan, or cover something that the character has problems with. Like the typical one a lot of characters have, which is a projectile nullify.
Interesting.
Because they'll either like, oh well, maybe they have no projectiles to fight them, or their projectiles are slow. So it's something to emphasize that. Some of the other unique ones, obviously the popular one is Ryu's parry.
Right.
With blocks and attack. So a successful V skill deflect, or use it to hit the opponent if it's a hitting one. It will add to the V gauge without having to get hit. And this powers up various things that you might want with the bar. And counting on how strong the V trigger is, the bar might be 2 bars or 3. And it can lead to just like a quick action, like with Nash, he has like a teleport, which helps him do like really confusing mix-ups. Or with Ryu, with a lot of characters actually, they'll power them up. You'll see the screen flash, and you'll see like the character maybe like glow in a certain spot, like Ryu's hands, and they'll power up their moves in some way, and like I mentioned earlier, usually you can tell what happened right away once you do it. Like you just press both heavies, and this might the V trigger counting on the character might add more to the strength of that character. Like with Ken and Ryu and some of the other characters, like I'll power up their special moves. I've been trying to think of the more unique ones.
Doesn't make all of Cammy's moves like double hit or something?
Oh, it powers up her specials to hit like multiple times.
Okay.
And, it makes them change really drastically. Let's see. I know a more interesting one is Fang, which is the poison character, and when he activates it, if you get close to him, he causes poison damage. Like even if you're just standing right by him and he has it active.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a slow poison drain, as well as pretty much everything he has.
And you probably can't kill with it, right? Going back.
No, you can't kill with it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very slow drain. It's more to make the opponent panic that they're losing health, and then they try to make mistakes, and then that's how you capitalize with him.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big part of that character. Trying to think of other characters. I mean, generally it'll power up. Most of them power up special moves in a certain way. That's right. So there's Armika, whose V's trigger calls a tag team partner out of nowhere, just hits you like, and you can control which direction that she comes out of and when she comes out, and that sets up a lot of hard to escape situations with her too. So yeah, it's a really cool, and whenever you do it, you definitely know what happened. So I think that was a big thing when they were designing V triggers.
Mm-hmm. And it's the fact that this is building up like as you're getting hit, and you have like some ability to kind of build it on your own.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like replacing the revenge meter in Street Fighter 4, and a little bit of like a kind of a comeback mechanic.
Yeah, it's pretty much a comeback mechanic, but it's not as forced. Like you have control over it. You have to take control into your own hands and be able to use it.
Right.
And I forgot the last thing that the bar is used for. So each section, if you decide to, you can use a section of the bar for a V reversal, which is pretty much an alpha counter, or for in layman's terms, it lets you let your character attack out of blocking, with a canned attack, counting on your character. Some of them are attacks, some of them are just teleports or dodges to get out of the way, so that you're not pressured as much. Especially since there's a lot of characters without invincible reversals in this game, like it's a really important thing to keep track of if you want to get out of pressure that's hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Because this meter isn't saved between rounds, like you're more encouraged to use it like when you have the opportunity to, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you might as well, and sometimes like it can be the difference between you doing a ton of damage and like nothing. A big thing with Ryu's, actually, I mean, even though it just powers up his fireball and uppercut, it can also he can also hold his fireball, and if he holds it full charge and the opponent blocks it, they get guard broken, so you can do like a full combo. So that's another thing you can do with it.
So it's kind of like the Denjin Ryu from Street Fighter 3.
Yeah, just not as effective because of the way the game's designed. Like, it wouldn't be as good if it was Denjin Ryu and Third Strike. Mm-hmm. It doesn't come out as fast, unless you do the super version, and you can hold it and charge and let go, and that's when you can get an almost guaranteed one. But generally, it charges slow.
So, and just to be clear, like this, all of this is like separate from like the super meter, right?
Yeah, it's very separate. The older games, they tend to use all of it in the super meter, but I think they were trying to make it clear that these things were for the V gauge and these things were for super.
And I think it kind of started with Street Fighter 4, right?
No, Super Street Fighter 4.
Well, Street Fighter 4, like there was the whole like revenge meter, which is for ultras, and then you
Oh
had like
yeah,
the
that's true.
regular
Yeah,
meter for EX moves and supers.
yeah. I mean, you had the revenge meter, which is just for ultras, and then the super meter for everything else. Older games usually just lump them all in the special move. I mean, the super meter, and called it a day.
Right, right. It is interesting that they have decided to kind of separate, these two things out, and well, like it since Street Fighter 4, like it seems like they're committing to that. Like they're deciding that's a good idea. That's something we want to keep doing.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, on top of that, they're trying to make it so that it's not too bogged down with everything. Like certain other games, they'll have like these 4 or 5 bars you got to keep track of, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to deal with this, you know.
Right.
Like you'll have some games where they'll have a guard gauge and then your super meter, and then like maybe they'll have like a unique gauge you got to pay attention to for your character, and you're just like,
Right. You got like some kind of timed thing going on.
yeah, and
My rage meter's ticking down. I gotta go.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure Street Fighter, the people at Capcom, and the Street Fighter development team, they're trying to avoid all of that.
Yeah, it sounds like they're running into that to a slight degree, maybe with like different people's V gauge being, like for some it's 2, some it's 3, and
Yeah,
at the same time, I mean that does add a little bit of unique flair and personality to the game, and it makes each character unique and everything.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, but there's one small complaint I've heard a few people have with Street Fighter 5 right now is that I mean, other than the game looking not super exciting to a casual standpoint.
Other than it not being complete, but
Yeah, yeah. Other than that, the game feels a little vanilla with the base game right now. Like it just feels like really pure Street Fighter with like minimal extras. And some people are starting to want like a more complex game now. And I don't know where I would go with that. I understand that as a company they want to not alienate too many people. As a player, I would want something that would cater to my taste more. I would probably want them to do something more complicated in a different series or an offshoot or something. Kind of like how Street Fighter 2 and Alpha was when they started adding more system things. And it wasn't like a sequel to Street Fighter, but it was an offshoot series which got really popular because they added more and more stuff to it.
right. And it does sound like Capcom is kind of stuck a little bit between, kind of the casual and hardcore audience. On the one hand, it's like they have kind of rushed this game out, mostly for like the hardcore audience. They're trying to get this out of here for Capcom Pro Tour. They're trying to get it out there in time for Evo. They've mostly focused on, getting the core gameplay done and getting it all working. But at the same time, it's like all these features are kind of missing for the casuals and everything. But at the same time, they've kind of streamlined the game to kind of appeal to the more casual audience. So Capcom definitely in a bit of a tough spot there. But I just one thing I do want to say real quick: when they do the inevitable, Super Street Fighter 5 and Super Street Fighter 5 2 Turbo, all that stuff, I'm sure they will, probably make the game a little more mechanically complex.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on that, I don't know if you're familiar with they announced this a while back before the game got released, but they're saying that Street Fighter 5, like once you buy the disc, that's the only disc you'll have to buy for a while, because they're planning on gradually updating the game yearly. And they're not planning to do like a huge balance change until probably after Capcom Pro Tour, like probably before the major tournament season starts. So that is a really huge change in direction for even just fighting games in general. Like a lot of fighting games nowadays, they'll sell the update as a separate game, maybe a little bit cheaper, but it's still a full price game. And Capcom's going around this saying, you don't have to pay for anything you need for the game if you play enough. And they're adopting more of a League of Legends style model, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and
The whole fight money thing, right? Like,
yeah, it's a big grind to get all that stuff.
mhm.
I think the update's supposed to add more events or something. You can earn those points, the fight money. Because right now the only way you can get it is playing through survival, which is like getting your teeth pulled out by the dentist, or ranking up in a rank match, which is horrible.
So like, you don't get like money just for playing matches. Like you actually have to rank up.
Uh, you have to play rank match. I think if you rank up, you get a little bit more.
Okay.
Because they want you to level up each character. It's some contrived
gosh.
thing, which I'm not even that interested in it. But I don't want to pay for my DLC characters, so I'm playing. So there's that. And I think that's how they're gonna make their money this time too. With like for the people that don't want to unlock everything, just pay through the DLC unlock or the season pass, which I think it's the typical season pass price. I believe. I think it's 25. I forget.
Mhm.
But they're giving that as options instead of having to like if you want to grind it, you can. But if you don't want to wait like a million years, or you just ran out of money to get that next DLC character, the options there. So and then the frilly like unnecessary things like costumes, you can pay for once that gets out too. So it's kind of unprecedented in the fighting game market.
Yeah, but I mean, this does seem to be heavily influenced by, League of Legends and those kind of
Yeah,
things. Because I mean, that is very similar. Like, it's a very similar, model for making money too. It's I mean, like the game is like free to play, but then if you want like to unlock characters faster and get all the cosmetic stuff, you gotta get out your wallet. And for a lot of people, they do that because they don't want to grind, and they don't want to. Yeah, they want to have the cool looking skins and everything.
oh yeah, definitely. But the characters you don't have to. At least you're not forced to buy them. So it's if you still have the game, you'll eventually get it.
Right. But the big takeaway that there probably won't be like a Super Street Fighter V or anything down the
No,
line. They're looking to keep
as
this
far
going.
as as far as we know, and they've pushed this a lot that they're not gonna do that with Street Fighter V at least. They'll probably get their income through the other stuff, and then I guess through advertisement through the Capcom Pro Tour and like doing well and all that stuff. And hopefully more people will gradually keep buying Street Fighter, which I guess it's a way. We'll see how that goes by the end of the year if they keep on going with it, because we won't know if it's successful or not by next season.
Right.
Because that's when they're probably going to try to do something. Because if the game's not successful, they're not going to update the game. Pretty sure. Which I mean, this is all their eggs in a basket, probably. Not really, but as far as their big IP, Street Fighter IP, I think it's a big deal for them.
It is, and I mean, even if things are rocky in the beginning, I would expect Capcom to try and do things to correct it and right the ship, get things back on course, and
Yeah.
it's too valuable to them for them to just be like, oh well, we little bump in the road, pull the plug. So
Yeah, they're getting paid too much to buy. Like, there's too much money in it for them right now to just give it up.
yeah.
So we can go towards the problems of Street Fighter V's release right now.
Let's do that because I was talking a little bit in the intro about how I think it's fair to say this game got off to a bit of a rocky start.
Yeah. So funny story. I actually got a copy of the game the day before it was supposed to drop.
You lucky you.
I guess I just looked up on one of my phone apps that called What's Up or WhatsApp or I forget. Oh, Offer Up Now. That's right. So and there was someone selling copies of Street Fighter Five like blatantly, and it was so funny because I went to the guy at night, and he was like, wow, you really came out here at midnight to get this game. I'm like, yeah. And and I was talking to him. He's like, yeah. Once I put this ad up, like all my copies got sold within the day. I'm like, yeah, dude, you should have. He had the copy since Friday.
Wow.
So,
And like
so
this thing come out on a
guess-
Tuesday, I assume, right?
Yes. No, it was was it? I think no, it was Sunday. It was
Oh,
Sunday
okay.
because they're the midnight release stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so I digress. That's not the important part of this. So I got to play the game, and I played online with some people, and it was fine. I mean, this is before the major drop of like everyone got their copies and stuff. So yeah, I played like a few matches with people online and rank. I played like a big set with someone like I met that was not bad. And it was really good. Like the online was fine. And then the after the after the midnight release and Lupe Fiasco versus Daigo and all that stuff, game comes out, and I'll be
Error
darned if you can
21007.
yeah, I'll be darned if you can even log in just to be able to play the game offline.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. All these errors that happen for because you need to be connected to the server. Because I think you have to be connected so that you can get the fight money. You can't earn it offline,
Right.
which I don't know about that decision, to be honest with you. But
Well, I mean, people would clearly hack it. I mean,
yeah.
if you could.
Yeah, I know that's what would happen, but I imagine at least like with the single player content, like they can at least have like a fixed amount and or some workaround. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they would probably hack it and people would not buy DLC costumes and all that.
Mhm.
But anyway, so yeah, there's disconnecting when you're not playing in an online mode. Like there was a big there was a tournament, like a local tournament, in the grand finals, and then the game disconnected from server in the middle of the match.
Wow.
Could you imagine that happening at like say final round or something?
I'm sure
Disaster.
Capcom is going to have a full technician staff standing by, just making sure.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have been connected online anyway. But the problem matter is like that can happen when you're not even in like an online match. Like
Right.
that should not ever happen.
But that is something you can turn off, like if you're doing like a local tournament or something.
Yeah, you can just not connect to the server. You can play
Okay,
offline.
good.
You can do it, but I mean, people just plug in their system and the game automatic. Once you turn on the game automatically tries to log into the server. So that's there's that. And then there's the the scourge of the internet, the rage quitters everywhere. I've not ever seen so many rage quit videos in my life. Yeah, it doesn't help that there's a PlayStation 4 sharing thing where it makes it so easy. I even caught one the other day. Someone was like, he was doing okay, and then I beat him, but once I beat him, he disconnected. And then I just went to my recording and found the video of me playing him. And then I found out that there was a lot of people that had the same problem with him, so I didn't have to report it. I don't know if they're gonna input like a fix that would completely solve the problem, but I think they're looking into it.
I know I heard that, yeah, they were looking into it. Like, they didn't realize it was a big issue. I guess, like, docking these people points isn't enough to deter them?
Well, right now there's no there's no penalty right now.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like that's why everyone's been like, there's some people that rank up and like if they almost lose a match or they lose a match, they just disconnect. and they don't lose the points at all, and they keep going. So there's no penalty. There's zero penalty right now. That's why it's a big problem.
That's good job, Capcom.
So yeah, there's a lot of people getting discouraged trying to play ranked match, even though it's a shame because I think it's a decent, it's halfway decent thing to gauge skill. As far as like matching up with people, seeing what you're doing. Yeah, and then man, when connections are bad, they're really bad. Because of the rollback netcode, the connections are fairly stable, like within the state or I guess a state over, and it's not on wireless. So the connection feels amazing. Like you can't even tell you're playing offline. I mean online. But whenever you play with someone anywhere near unstable, you see teleports everywhere, and it feels so horrible. Like, you know, I mean it's a little bit different from the delay netcode that we're so used to in a lot of fighting games.
Right.
But like it's really frustrating when you get to that one connection that feels so bad that you just want to like throw your disc across the room.
Yeah, it's got to be especially frustrating in a fighting game where it's like timing is everything, and if your connection is so unstable and it's making the game choppy, and 1 second it's running well and the next second it's you're paused, like that could just be a total nightmare.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's the in between where you can kind of deal with it, but you don't want to. I actually played with a friend of mine that's living in Japan, and we had like a 3-bar connection, which is kind of half and half, and it was tolerable. Like it wasn't horrible. I could play with him, and it felt like I was playing almost okay. And
maybe he wasn't on wireless, so.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, that and the infrastructure in Japan is pretty amazing for internet. But
I wonder if that affected how they tested things. Like if they were just used to pretty good, like just having like really good networking infrastructure. So it's like when it came down to release the game here, where maybe it's not so good. Like the system just can't quite handle that.
That's how it usually is in most other fighting games. They'll maybe do like a random test from like coast to coast or coast to Japan or something and just call it a day. But I mean, that's what the betas were for. The server, like testing the server load and seeing how internet connections were from around the world. Because some of the betas were random matchup, like not even from the same continent. Like you'll get matched up with people from like Holland or something.
Wow.
So that all that info, like that data was collected, and I guess they thought it was okay enough to use, so they released it in the wild, and it for the most part it's usable. Oh, and let's see. Oh, and there's the other minor thing, I believe. On PS4, whenever you play on some stages online, and I think I haven't seen like hardcore proof of this, but some of the stages lag. Like there'll be some delay because there's too much stuff going on in the background.
Great, every match is going to be on training stage now. Great, good job, Capcom. Good job.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it happened in Street Fighter 4. It's
Yep.
People like their lines to gauge distance or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for now, playing with people online on PS4, for the most part, I just play on training stage unless it's someone that I know close to me, and it doesn't affect it as much. But if it's a bad or worse connection, like the stage does matter a lot, because I was playing with my Japanese friend, and when I wasn't playing on training stage, it felt really bad. Like,
it's gonna be all training stage now. No, I mean, I'm just reminded of like PR Rog, who, for people who know, he's kind of like a fighting game top player, but like he tweeted out at one point, he's like, big hype tournament, tens of thousands of people are watching every game on training stage, and then it's just like a picture of a child just being there like, Just exasperated. Just this again, but yeah.
Yeah. So PC doesn't have that problem. As far as I know, because this more powerful system, PC
Yeah.
master race,
Right.
blah blah blah. Oh, and one more thing that I think they figured out, like some exploit for for PC lag switching. Um, when you have the game in alt, when you have the game tabbed like in a window, and you see the game jumping a lot for a rollback, if you move the window around a little bit, no. You tab the window and then you bring the window back up. It becomes fine, and but for the opponent, it's really laggy on PC. This is only
What?
on PC.
Why? I
So
don't even know what, like, first of all, how do people like discover this? Like, why would that be the case? Why would, like, oh, he tabbed, clearly I should lag out? Like, that's doesn't make sense.
I've seen something similar to it on an emulator. I think on GGPO with Final Burn. Whenever they have fighting games and you have someone viewing the match and you move the screen around, I think it lags for the people playing. So it happens commonly as far as I know, but I don't know if they can really fix that.
They should be able to, because like I don't even know like why that would be happening. It's like, I know like in a MOBA, like if I'm having lag issues, like that doesn't like automatically make everyone else have trouble too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know.
So I think that's generally all the problems I can think of for the game right now.
That and the whole like it being incomplete thing. Yeah, just minor problem,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I mean
No, it,
that stuff's just content. They're promising to add that in, and I mean the playing the game offline is fine. I don't have a problem with it, and everyone that likes playing Street Fighter is happy with it. So
yeah,
you know,
it does seem to be a very faithful Street Fighter game. I mean the limited amount of time I spent with it, it was just kind of like, yep, it's Street Fighter. There's no doubt about that. And it does seem to be very balanced and everything. Like how, okay, so you said like Laura not considered to be top tier maybe, but
yeah,
what's the
yeah.
balance situation like in this game?
She's the well. Right now, I've seen a lot of different characters do well. Generally, most people think that Nash, Dalsum, and Chun-Li. Actually, Chun-Li and Nash for sure, and then everyone else is in contention. And then Laura is probably down there, but they're so close together. Oh, and Fang. Some people don't think Fang is that great. Which I think with him, a character design like him, he's really unexplored, so it's kind of
Right.
hard to judge.
Right.
But there a lot of people pretty much saying the game's all the characters are fairly viable. So I'll take their word for it right now. I've seen so many different characters win. Let's see, from the past month, I think I see Zangief was considered not great, and Snake Eyes won with him. At
Big
160
surprise, big
fights.
surprise.
Yeah.
Snake Eyes, for those who don't know, just dominant Zangief player from SF4, just one of the best in the US.
Yeah, and now he's doing it in 5. And people were complaining about Ken not being that strong, and I'm seeing like a million Kens like in these tournaments doing well, like top 8, Winter Brawl, which was like last week or the week before. All these tournaments are merging together. So I see well, actually that and the tournament that Snake Eyes won, like there was a Ken that got second place in both of those. That means they beat out all these other top players that were doing well. Dalsum I hear is like really huge. I think Arturo won a tournament the other day with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing, and like I mentioned earlier, like that first Capcom Pro Tour tournament, the Laura player won. So I'm seeing results everywhere, and with a fighting game this new, and people not trying to break the game down, but you're seeing all this variety in the beginning of the game is a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can find a character that suits your playstyle and you can do well with that character, I think it's a very good sign for the game.
Yeah. And I mean, if not, they're still releasing characters in the next 6 months, which is free. So
Free for the grinders, but
well, the first 100,000 points are pretty easy to get, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they really are copying a League, but
yeah, but if you want the rest,
right,
you have to pay or be a high school kid with a lot of free time.
Yeah, I mean, I went through the same thing. This MOBA I've been playing, it's you get your first 50k gold like so easily, and then after that it's like 10 gold a match, and it's like, oh jeez, this is gonna take forever. But
yeah, I'm trying. I think I'm halfway to 600k, which is I think they're saying it's 100k for a character. So I'm almost there to the halfway point to not paying for the stuff I need.
and so, if you can prioritize, like, this is a character I want, this is a character I find interesting.
Yeah,
well, and you kind of ignore the other characters then.
Well, as a fighting game player, I want all the characters just in case. Not just to play them, but to be able to test stuff with them. So, and that's always a big thing with fighting games, because you'll have like some weird situation you have to deal with that, like if you don't have the character, you won't be able to test, or maybe their hitbox is weird or something like that.
Yeah.
So as for, like if
Tron and Marvel
points, I'm gonna buy them. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And people, there's gonna be a ton of people that are gonna do that, or they'll have the option to just buy their waifu Juri or something. So
one last thing I did want to touch on. How's it been received by players of Street Fighter 4? Kind of previous Street Fighter games, because whenever like a new game comes out in a franchise, it's always interesting. Like, so some of the old people will embrace it because, hey, it's something new. It's they're taking this stuff forward with the franchise, and then there's others who are just like way into the earlier installments that don't really want to see anything change and won't embrace the new game. So how's this been received?
Okay, so you have a couple of camps. The typical. You have a couple of old players that come out like, wow, this feels like Street Fighter again. I want to play this. And they play it and they like it. And then you have the more cautious people like, I'll give it a shot. And I mean, they generally like it after they played a little while. You'll have the few people that are like, my character's not in it yet, I'll wait. And then you have the people that have been playing Street Fighter 4. And they're really wary and they're scared because their game that they've been practicing for the past 7 years is irrelevant technically.
The game they've devoted their lives to, practically.
Yeah. And this is a big thing too. Whenever they announced games for Evo and they decided we're not going to support 4, and some people were pretty vocal about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's from a business standpoint and like a tournament organizing standpoint. There's no reason to, because the crossover won't be that big of a deal, and 95% of those players are going to play 5 anyway. So a lot of those players, I don't hear from them anymore, actually. Like, I don't hear, oh man, I play 5, I tried it, but 4 is with me forever. Like, most people just quit 4 and just went straight to 5. It's not even just like American players. I actually just read a tweet earlier from a Japanese player saying like, yeah, Japanese 4 players were scared of 5 because it wasn't going to play like 4. And then they played the game and they're starting to like it. So generally it's a positive reception for the people that like the Street Fighter series. They love the game. I mean, even me, generally I'm not super hardcore into Street Fighter style fighting games. I appreciate watching them and playing and like the skill set involved in playing the games. And I tend to like researching how fighting games, like what each fighting game works to see like what makes them interesting, what makes them tick.
Mhm.
And I enjoy playing. I enjoy playing 5 right now. So there's a lot of like little things, little interactions. Few things frustrate me, but it's more like I don't know how I'm supposed to fight it, which is
Right.
like fighting Dalsum drives me nuts.
And as you said, I mean, the game is very underexplored right now. So
Yeah, it's only been a month. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all the betas, and there's the people that played the cracked beta like for months.
yeah.
But I mean, now it's out in the wild, and there's all these people trying to find things, and they're trying to be the next, be the next breakout player. It's a fresh field right now.
Which is definitely something that's very appealing. Yeah, I mean, like with the correct, there was so much like day -75 tech out there. It was it was crazy.
Which is important too, because I mean, like the game comes out, and like the first thing you want to find is like, okay, how do I play this character? So you'll have all these videos of people that have been playing a little bit early, and they're trying to share the knowledge so that people can start picking up things and finding things on their own. And as long as that type of stuff's getting pushed out, that type of content's getting pushed out, it's gonna have a long life, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as long as Capcom is still committed to it, they're still making little balance changes and doing updates to it. I mean, that's going to breathe life into the game too. I do find it very interesting that Street Fighter V has basically adopted the MOBA model in terms of monetization. Sure, it isn't free to play, but there are definitely some similarities there. So, wonder if that's going to be the case for most, if not all, competitive games in the future. So, before we go, I wanted to let you all know that we have officially launched our Facebook page. So, head on over to facebook.com/game design podcast and go ahead and give the page a like so you can keep up with the show, discuss the topics, and all that good stuff. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you for listening, and take care.